The inevitable question of how my graphics and the game looks the way it looks. What settings do I use? What mods do I use? I'm gonna answer all the questions here. First of all, let's quickly look through the mods that I use which play some part in the way my game looks, and then we will dive into the settings of each one of them. Camera Field of View by The Magician aka TDW. This mod allows you to set your own FOV or field of view however you like. Want the game to feel more expansive and big? Come to options and change the FOV to 30. Or want the game to feel much closer and SimCity like? Change the FOV to somewhere around 85 to 100. This mod makes sure your whatever FOV you choose, it stays that way forever until you unsub from the mod. Lumina by Nyoko. This is the main mod that plays a vital role in how my game looks. It's exactly like preserve photo mode, but this allows you to save the settings you have applied, thus eliminating the need to set the settings every time like you do with preserve photo mode. It comes with lots of features and we will dive a bit deeper later in the video. Map Texture Replacer by Seagame World. This mod allows you to change or replace grass, dirt and cliff textures with the texture packs available on Paradox. This basically changes the overall map themes of your game and makes it a little bit nicer compared to the plain and barren vanilla theme. Road Wear Adjuster by HX 2003. With this mod, you can adjust the texture, brightness, opacity and smoothness of the white road wear you see in vanilla game. You can either reduce it to have absolutely no road wear or have a negative road wear if you reduce this, which kind of looks how it should look in real life. Time and Weather Anarchy by Roderick Metrics. This mod allows you to set time of day and change or set seasons. If you want, you can have summer season all around or maybe winter, though I don't think anyone would want to do that, but you got an option. You can also change stuffs like precipitation, clouds and auroras too. Water Visual Tweaks by HX 2003. This mod allows you to change the way water looks in the game with a bunch of settings to choose from, and you can fine tune it from here and see the changes happen in the background. And lastly, some of the in-game settings that I have chosen, which also plays some part in how the game looks. Well, that was the quick look through on all the mods that I use. Now let's jump into all the settings that I have applied to them. Let's start with the graphics settings in options. PS, I have a good PC, hence I am able to run these settings so high. My screen resolution is set to 1440p at 60 fps as that's what my current monitor is capable of. VSync is on, and then these two are default settings. Depth of field is disabled, and coming down, NVIDIA DLSS is also disabled. In quality setting, I have these options disabled: dynamic resolution scale, volumetrics, global illumination, depth of field and motion blur. I could also get away with disabling ambient occlusion as well. I haven't seen any difference personally, but regardless, some settings have been changed in advanced mode as well. So for anti-aliasing and clouds, here are the settings that I've applied. Now coming back, I have fog enabled also, as it adds some depth and also hides the ugly sharp horizon line. Reflections, I think as far as I remember, I had that at max. There is no settings that I may have changed, but if you want, you can have it at high. It really looks good. Then shadow and terrain are also set to high. Some say you can disable terrain cast shadows to remove these shadow glitches, but I don't mind them too much. That's why I have kept it enabled. Water quality is set to medium. If you want, again, you can set it to high, but I don't mind the water quality too much. Then coming to level of detail. It is set to high, but in advanced setting I have changed one value, mainly being the level of detail distance. Typically at high setting it is set to 70%, but I have set it to 97. Don't ask why 97, I just like the number. It's odd and weird. Animation is set to medium. I mean, is there any even point to turn it up to high? I think it is useless and you don't need your PC to be stressing about this. And lastly comes the texture. I have set it to high for the maximum details in the textures. Okay, so right now, as you can see with these cinematics, my field of view is set to 30. This FOV adds so much depth and scale to the maps. It also is the best for getting some overlook of your city from up high, or if you're making some drone shots. But when you're building and want things to feel up close and personal, then you can set the FOV to somewhere around 85 to 100, and you can see it changing behind. As I mentioned earlier, it gives a very different and unique look. Next, let's check out Map Texture Replacer. So once you get the mod and these map themes linked down in the description, over here on the top left, you will see this icon. Click it and Map Texture Replacer will pop up. Here you can choose between different map themes, which this mod syncs from the folder. Here you will see all the different textures: grass diffuse and normal, dirt diffuse and normal, and finally cliff diffuse and normal. Diffuse is basically the actual color of the texture, and normal is the bump map that adds some depth to the texture, which can be seen while changing the lighting. And below you can mess with the tiling of the textures. So we have got far and close tiling and close dirt tiling. As you can see with my settings, I use the mixture of themes. So for grass I use Seaside Serenity theme, Home for Chameleon for dirt, and Vivid Cities for the cliffs. Along with these, I have these values for tilings. This in result give me this type of look, and you can see all the three textures blending in really well over here in this shot. Now let's take a look to roadway adjuster. You can see how my roads look. They have this sort of black wear to them instead of white, and you can get that easily by going to the options, changing the texture brightness to 0. The rest of the settings are like this. This basically removes the ugly white road wear that always bugged me because of how bright it was and it just didn't feel realistic. The next mod is Time and Weather Anarchy. The button is here on the top right. You have some default time options which are basically day and night, but you can also do a custom time like how I'm doing right now. And here on the sliders below, you can set which hour of the day you want and which day of the year you want. The position of sun is obviously dependent on what map you are using and what longitude and latitude it is. Then down below we have some weather options. In the drop down you have all the 4 seasons, and below you can set custom temperature, precipitation, clouds and auroras. I personally don't mess with temperature and aurora, but I do have precipitation set to off so that we don't get the ugly rain, and clouds are set to 0.346. Because of this, you get some decent clouds in the sky, noting you have them enabled in the options. Now we come to water visual tweaks. As you can see, there are a ton of options that you can choose from changing the ripple speed via wind parameter or ripple sizes or their amplitude to changing the material parameters. The default values in this mod are already the best, but if you want to change then you have plethora of options. I personally run the defaults. And lastly, we come to the main ingredient of today's episode, Lumina. With Lumina, you can do a lot of things. First things first, remember and make sure that you have this setting enabled. Otherwise, the changes you will be doing, it won't show up. The main thing that is different in my case from any other videos out there is that I use what is called LUT. LUTs are a great way to add some character and uniqueness to the look of the game. The ones provided in the Lumina are good, and there are also quite a few on Paradox as well that you can try, including one made by me called Google Earth inspired LUTs, but I will let you know beforehand that the mod is broken since a long time. Nyoko hasn't got time to fix it, hence I am attaching a Google Drive link down in the description from where you can get the 3 Google Earth inspired LUTs: Google Earth Neutral, Google Earth Green, and Google Earth Warm. To install them properly, download Lumina and open the game once with it and then close it. Go to this location in your PC, see users, username, app data, local low, colossal order, city Skylines 2, mods data, Lumina, and LUTs, and paste them here. Now you should be ready to boot the game back again. I have created these LUTs keeping in mind how it usually looks in Google Earth or Google Maps when you roam around. In some places you have a little warm look, and sometimes you have this greenish tint to it, and sometimes it's just this coldish neutral look. I mix that with the LUT that looks and behaves like a raw file, giving you a ton of freedom and room for editing and making it look however you want. Now once you're back in the game and made sure you have Lumina volume enabled, come to this tone mapping section and here set the tone mapping mode to external if it's not set already, and in the drop down here select my Google Earth Neutral 64 LUT and make sure the slider is at 100% and hit load LUT. This is how the LUT should look like by default. And now come back to the color tab, and here you can start messing with the values to adjust it however you want. Firstly, I will set the contrast. For me, I have set it to 100, which gets the job done to almost 90%. For me personally, this feels a little too saturated, so I set my saturation to around 12 or 15, which brings the saturation down a tiny bit. And if you feel like the brightness is too much or too less, you can mess around with exposure and set it accordingly. Mine is set at 0.07. Now if you feel like the look is still a bit cold, then you can set the temperature to be warm, which for me I have chosen to be around 10, which will give you this neutral warm look. The bottom three, shadows, midtones and highlights, provide a very subtle change to the look, and if you want you can mess with them accordingly to your liking. I personally don't use shadows, but for midtones and highlights, here are my values and what they do when you enable them. You can see this effect more in the clouds and it makes it pop up so much, and even in your normal gameplay it just makes these highlights and everything pop a lot more. And again, the values that I've shown you are approximate as you cannot type it out. So even if you are near to these values, then it's fine. You don't have to be perfect. And these are my secrets and mods and settings that I use to get my game look like this. I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something, and you can finally change your look of the game and make it look realistic and fun. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new or haven't already. Join my Patreon to support the channel like how these gentlemen are doing. I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, happy building.